Hello folks, today is Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. My name is Todor Vodov and this is the 32nd episode of Keeping It Realistic. In this show, in collaboration with Chaos, we review some of the more interesting and noteworthy projects shared in the Chaos Campus Facebook group within the last 14 days, talking about their strengths but also pointing out their weaknesses and even suggesting eventual ways to improve them. We also like to discuss general topics around this group in particular, but also the visualization field as a whole. And this is why usually in the beginning of the show, we take a look at some recent announcements, events, news, but also tutorials, ways of learning, tools, and things like this. And we do all of this as a live session so that you can actively participate in the discussion, interact with each other, interact with myself. So don't hesitate to be active, to say hi, voice your opinion, ask questions, start discussions, and things like that. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. I see a lot of you already being active. I'm very glad that you made it despite the earlier hour, because yes, usually we start at 4 p.m. Central European time, but today we moved the show to happen a bit earlier so that afterwards we can also go and watch the webinar on Corona 12 and Vantage. And we didn't want those two events to happen at the same time and you having to choose between them. Also, one important thing, please let me know how the sound quality is, because on some of the previous episodes we had an issue with an echo that you were hearing while listening to me, which of course is very unpleasant. And I got into it and I think I figured out what the problem was, and I think it's history now, and also you should now be able to hear me louder and clearer. So if this is the case, please confirm in the comments so I know all of this worked. And now I'll gladly check the comments. I see Danushka is here, Anna, Abdi, Amit is here. Amit says hi Theo and hi all. Very busy and very exciting Tuesday today because of two great shows back to back. This is the plan. Thank you. Helen is here. Georgi. Amit says sound is absolutely fine today. Sound is great for me so far. This is what I really gladly like to hear. I tweaked the settings and now the echoes won't be happening anymore. I'm sorry that they used to happen, but now they're out of the way. Alfredo is here. Hello, bro. He says, hello, bro. Back to you. Now, we will do what we usually do in the beginning of our shows. We will take a moment to appreciate today's cover image. The shots for it were contributed by Roberta, Alireza, and Janitha. For Janitha and Alireza have already been featured on this cover image triptych in the past. For Roberta, however, it's a first time, so congrats to her, and of course, congrats to the other two artists as well. And what brings all of this here together is obviously the central perspective. We have a classic one, an Alwis central perspective here to the left. And then to the right, we have something more of an urban close-up. And in the middle, this very interesting, very open interior. I really like it. I hope you do as well. And then we will just move on to our campus news. Everybody confirms that the sound is good. I'm very, very happy to hear that. So Nam joined us. Hello, glad to have you here. First, we will talk about some past events, starting with the third episode of the CG Architect podcast featuring Wellington Franzau from Somewhere. And the whole episode, I would say, if I have to summarize it, is about his journey as an artist, a journey that started in Brazil and led him to become a part of the software of the Somewhere team in Liverpool, England. And I personally find it really, really inspiring because it shows that if you are to follow your passion and if you worked hard enough to develop your talent, and of course, very importantly, if you put yourself out there, meaning being active on social media, participating in competitions, networking, you can actually absolutely achieve your dreams, and a lot of doors at least will be open for you out there to choose from. And I think this is really, really inspiring. I really enjoyed it. And also, folks, don't forget, this is like a true podcast, so you don't have to plan the time to watch it if you don't want to see those beautiful, handsome two faces, of course. You can just let it run on a separate monitor or on your mobile phone and just listen to it. Being a podcast, this is how I watched it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it nevertheless. Now let's move on to something else, the Alwis masterclass with creative lighting. The 7th lesson of it was almost 2 weeks ago on June 27th. The topic of the lesson part was the final touch, post-processing. I really hope you didn't miss this one. You know, there are no recordings of those events, and Nikos was showing some really, really neat tricks there. Oh, I gotta show myself, probably you don't see me. Okay. Yeah, but what's also very important is that the masterclass competition was announced, and me, Nikos, and I discussed this and decided to showcase this to you once again during the Keeping It Realistic show today. So Nikos gave me the slides of his presentation, and I will show them to you once again in order to motivate you to participate in this competition, because it is truly awesome. So we have the competition intro. I will briefly read it. It says, unleash your creativity. The competition is your opportunity to push the boundaries of your creativity and technical skills. Embrace the creative lighting philosophy by telling compelling stories through design and leveraging the cutting-edge technology of Chaos software. Create stunning images that captivate and inspire, blending artistic vision with technological excellence. Now, this may sound a bit pushed or maybe a bit too generic, but once you know what this competition is about, what the topic is, you will know that every single line here makes a ton of sense. Because what you have to do is to create a bedroom render. Now, you may think, well, bedroom render isn't something really exciting and unique, but let me explain the conditions around that bedroom render, and then you understand why it is a really, really creative and awesome task. So first thing you need to do is you need to choose a client. So you need to select a popular character from any film or TV series to serve as your client. Second step is the client description. So provide a brief description of your selected client, analyzing their personality, preferences, and interests to guide your design decisions. In the third step, you have to create mood boards. Not only one, but 3 of those. First, a lighting mood board. Craft the perfect ambience to match your client's character. The second mood board, the design mood board. Design a bedroom space that reflects their personality and tastes. And the third mood board is about a color palette. Select colors that enhance the overall mood and style. And the final step would be the final project presentation, where you need to submit 2 final images, each showcasing a different mood for your projects to highlight your versatility and attention to detail. And this is really, really interesting. And what's even better, we have an example of a project done according to all of those rules. I'll just show it to you in a second. So let me just put this over here. So here you see, this is an example done by Vanessa Oberson. She chose to do the bedroom for Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City. So in the first step, she described Carrie, what kind of person she is, what she likes, and she really analyzed her. And based on this description, she figured out which styling mood, which color mood, and which lighting mood suit her the best. Be aware, those steps that I've just shown you, the client, choosing a client description, creating mood boards, and the final presentation, all of them need to be submitted alongside your final renderings. So it's not only about the final 2 images, it's about the whole process. And this is what makes it so exciting. So yeah, back here to Vanessa's work. So she chose Carrie Bradshaw. She did all the let's say, theoretical work. And after that, what she started doing is she started creating the mood boards. So she figured out the modern mid-century architectural style is the one that would fit Carrie Bradshaw the best. So she started analyzing it. First, the color palette, which colors are typical for this architectural style. And then she continued by analyzing the architectural style itself and elements that are typical for it. And in the final step, she created a mood board about bedroom lighting and even closet lighting, because it's Carrie Bradshaw. closets are a major part of her personality, if not her main personality trait. So yeah, it obviously makes sense to analyze something like this as well. And what she did next, based on all of this so far, she created a bedroom. And this is her bedroom. This is probably her main shot or her first shot. It's, I would assume, some early morning mood. And you see Carrie herself, but this is not part of, you don't have to do this, but you see a lot of elements that are typical for her. So the location, obviously, big city, skyscraper, luxurious living. Then you see all those fashion statements, you know, the handbags, the shoes, the martini cocktail. All of these are very typical for this character, and you're there to be found in this bedroom. And then she continued and he made a second version of it, which is, I would call it a late afternoon or maybe early evening mood, where we have more artificial lighting. I personally really enjoy this one because we have really awesome accents and highlights here. You see even the you know, this closet that she did some research on the lighting on is now illuminated here in this shot. And this is more or less what you have to do. What I really enjoy about this task is that it says any character from any film or TV series. So you don't have to go with a classic human being. You can also choose a superhero. You can choose them E.T. or the Alien or the Predator, or you know, you can absolutely go science fiction or fantasy or whatever you prefer. And I think that this is absolutely amazing. And also the whole process of you know, starting by choosing a client, analyzing them, creating mood boards fitting to those clients, and then creating the images based on all of this. This will teach you an awful lot about visualization. So my clear recommendation here is participate. And once again, we just talked about the CG Architect podcast and Wellington. You need to get yourself out there. You can be the best artist in existence. If nobody knows about you, you won't get anywhere. So try. It's always great when people, when your name is called. And you know, you have until mid-September to work on this. There will be an official page. It's in the works by Chaos, and it will be shared in the group, which will give you the exact deadlines and stuff. But you have approximately until mid-September to work on this. And then on the next show, which will be the last episode of the Alwis Masterclasses, episode number 8, on October 3rd, then all the submissions will be showcased, they will be reviewed, and the winners will be announced. And if your name is among those names, it will get out there. You'll get exposure for free. And while doing so, you have had, you know, did an exercise in the worst case. In the best case, you can, of course, also win out something out of this. So yeah, this is definitely a clear recommendation on my side. And honestly, if I have the time, I even consider participating myself. And before we move on to other news, let's stay at the Nikos topic, and let me briefly mention the AI mastery course that by Creative Lighting that has now been officially launched. Now, just so you know, to everybody watching, this is not a paid advertisement. I wasn't asked to do this. Everything that we show here in the news part, in the learning part, but also later during the review phase of the projects, is just stuff that I personally find useful or good in a way, and I just want to share with you. That's all. So yeah, and in this case, in this specific case, we have something which is done by Nikos, who has done and given so much to the community, and I think giving a bit back is the least we can do. Anyway, this course is meant to help you master Midjourney when it comes to creating visualizations, references, Magnific when it comes to upscaling and enhancement of your images, and even generative fill in Photoshop when it comes to post-production. And given how many of you, you know, we did this survey in the group about AI, and it turned out that 2/3 of you are already incorporating AI tools in your workflow. So it only makes sense to properly learn it at some point. And yeah, here is an example of what you will be learning during this course. If you're interested, just check it out. This is the link. I'll gladly drop it in the comments of the show. But I think Nikos also shared it in the group. And here on this page, you can find everything you need to know about the course, when it happens, how much it costs, everything. And yeah, enough about Nikos. Now let's take a look at the upcoming stuff. We'll check the Chaos calendar, and then we will see that there is almost nothing there apart from this event, which is the reason why we moved today the show. If you click on the plus here, you will know what the whole thing is about. And if you open this in a new tab, you will land at this official page where you can book your seat for the webinar. If you haven't done it already, do so now, because it starts in 1 hour and 44 minutes. And yeah, it's the topic of this webinar will be Explore Beyond Limits with Corona 12 and Chaos Vantage. The topics covered: the introduction to Corona 12 and Chaos Vantage, benefits of the Corona Vantage scene export, how the integration works, a live demo, which is awesome. Also a case study, how Narrative used Corona 12 and Vantage to create stunning animations, and a Q&A session. Also, all of this webinar will be featuring real celebrities of our field. Tom Grimes, the project manager of Chaos Corona. Also Nate Skila, great, very talented artist. We have talked about tutorials by him in this show. And of course, the two awesome guys from Narrative, Lewis and Robin. And once again, there will probably be a recording, after which there is also a recording of the Keeping It Realistic show, but it always makes sense if you have the chance to actually attend those live events while they happen, because of those Q&A sessions, because of the option to actively participate in these discussions, ask questions, and do stuff like this. I very much recommend it. So yeah, if you have the time, gladly check it out. I will be there for sure. And yeah, the reason for this is, of course, the official release of Corona 12 a week ago. It has a ton of new features, curved decals, improved Corona pattern, the instance brush for the Chaos scatter, which helps you refine your scatters if you need to. We have improved light mix, improved UI, and most of all, finally the chance to use Vantage, because Corona now supports Chaos Vantage. It's not a direct live link. You have to export a VR scene, but you still have the option to do so, which is awesome. I don't want to talk more about this because, again, in almost 2 hours, we will hear about this from the source directly, so they can tell us a bit more than I can do now. So yeah. Also, I just mentioned Vantage. Talking about Vantage, Vantage also has a new update number 5 for Vantage 2. It's pretty awesome. It has some really cool new features, VR support, animated vegetation. You can take any plant from the Cosmos library, and with the wind simulation, you can make it jiggle in the wind. It supports rounded edges and corners, which is amazing. Animated objects visibility and other stuff. There are some improvements in UI and so on. But again, the video is in the group. If you're curious, just go and watch it. I don't want to waste more time. I can show you, however, a group member, Jihan, already tried it out. So he tried this animated vegetation with wind simulation, and his conclusion is that Vantage has made the job incredibly easy in the latest version. I haven't tried it myself. I already installed Vantage and started learning it. I'm a Corona user. Before that, I simply didn't need Vantage because there was no connection between Corona and Vantage. But now that we have it, I'm all in. And next, I'll be learning Vantage and, of course, experimenting with stuff like that as well. Now, we just mentioned the Cosmos library, that you can simply get some type of vegetation, a tree or a shrub or whatever, from the Cosmos library and put it into Vantage and immediately animate it. And talking about Vantage, we also have some new HDRI skies for it. Now, Chaos is collaborating with HDRI Skies, and for us, this means that we have 7 new HDRI Skies at our disposal. Now, what's the difference to the previous skies that we had? Well, the previous skies were great. I have already used some of them in my scenes. I very often use the studio ones because they are great. You just click on them and implement it in your scene immediately. Instead of having an all-around white illumination, I use those on almost every project. But I have also used these ones as well. They're really, really good when it comes to illumination. But if you want to actually place an object and have a natural 360 panorama surrounding around it, obviously those don't work because they have just a black ground level. The new ones, however, by the way, let me show you where you can find those. You go to creators, vendors, and here is a list of all the vendors that are submitting stuff to the Cosmos library. And here we go to HDRI skies, and here is where we find the 7 new HDRIs. And again, they're great because they are full 360 panorama, so they can be used with wrapper or shadow catcher materials, and that's awesome. Still, if this library isn't enough for you, there are free Eon software projects for free download. This was kindly shared by Abdi in the group, and let me just briefly explain what those 3 are about. So we have View, which is a world building tool similar to TerraGen or Gaia. Eventually, it's for creating terrains, ecosystems, atmospheres, skies, stuff like that. Next, we have the Plant Factory, which is a parametric tool for the creation of vegetation, similar to SpeedTree, for example. And lastly, we have the Plant Catalog, which is a giant plant library. There is this video explaining all of those in more detail. I don't want to lose time doing this now, but I will just share the video for you to check it out, and then you know the person here explains everything in more detail, shows a few examples so that you can check it out. Let me just check the comments. I see Mark is here. Great job, dear Theo. Thank you very, very much. Fat here. Hello everyone. Flatson. Danushka says those HDRIs look really nice with cool soft lighting. Yeah, they are pretty cool. And yeah, most of them have really soft lighting. Actually, all of them. Maybe this one is the one which is a bit bolder, but yeah, I think that will be really cool. And also the scenes are nice. You can always place a car or some type of an object here and it will look very realistic. Okay, I think that's enough. Maybe it's time to change pace and take a look at the latest update of Tyflow. It's Tyflow version 1.111, subtly called after Stable Diffusion's automatic 11.11 web UI. And as you can see from this trailer, it promises incredibly cool AI stuff directly integrated into 3ds Max. Yeah, what we see here is really partially mind-blowing. And especially those of you who are interested in integrating AI in their workflow or working more and more with AI, this is something you definitely need to test out. Just take a look at this option. It looks like this was generated out of an image. So yeah, this eventually will, if it keeps all the promises and everything which is presented here is actually doable, as easy as depicted here, then we'll have a very mighty new tool for 3ds Max on our hands, and that's pretty awesome. I still haven't tried it, but to no surprise, it was Abdi who shared this, and he has already experimented with it. Abdi, I saw you in the comments, so please be so kind and just in a few short sentences, tell us, how do you feel about this this new tool? Does it work the way you want it to? Does it offer a lot of good stuff, or is it more like a visual gag? How much implementability do you see in a regular artist's workflow? Things like this, but yeah, nevertheless, it's promising. And yeah, still, while AI is definitely cool, let's not forget what kind of impressive stuff can be created even without AI with a good old school rendering. For this, we can just take a close look at the outcome of the D2 challenge by the Common Point and Narrative with some really mesmerizing results. Let's just briefly go through them because they are absolutely an awesome source of inspiration. Just looking at those images already recharges my creative batteries. And also to those of you in this group who ask themselves, well, I'm not into Alwis, do I really belong in this group in the Chaos Campus? Well, you definitely do. Just look at those things and how much we appreciate it and how much we like it. Just take a look at the passion that I have talking about projects that have nothing to do with architectural visualization. So definitely, if you submit a work like this, we will be more than happy to talk about it, even though it doesn't sell us a house or something. Now let me check the comments. Amit says, Abdi will make a cool in-depth tutorial soon for this version. What do you say, Abdi? This would be awesome, of course. Abdi says, I'm currently learning all the tie diffusion stuff. I'll share some results and settings for sure. And Amit says, thanks. Yeah, it will be awesome, Abdi. We will very much be looking forward to this. Okay, now let's take a look at some learning stuff. So for this, we will check the Chaos Facebook page, where again there are tons of announcements, such as the Corona 12 announcement, the latest update for Vantage announcement, and so on. There's with the news with the HDRIs, some cool stuff about Phoenix, and this is where there were also some tutorials, and I found this one really good. It's actually a tutorial on creating Realistic Grass by Jonas Noel, and the topic is how to make nicer grass. It's done with Chaos Scatter, which is integrated in Corona and V-Ray. This one is in particular for V-Ray, but I think you can use a lot of the knowledge here also for Corona. It's a 15-minute video, and the final results look really great. Let me just move the cursor somewhere here so that you can see them. So if you struggle with this topic, definitely check this one out. It will help you a lot. Another tutorial that was shared there and also in our group as well was this render texture heavy scenes more efficiently with V-Ray GPU. Now, like it or not, some of the artists, some of you, some of us don't have like an endless amount of RAM on their PCs. And I think that a technique like this, rendering with the GPU rendering, as it's shown here, will actually help you use less RAM so that you don't run out of it. Probably it's at the expense of longer render times. This is an assumption. If you have tried it, let me know in the comments. But if you don't have a lot of RAM on your PC, this will definitely help you. Amit says Jonas has some really cool tutorials on his YouTube page, one person that you can follow. Oh, this is a recommendation by Amit. Amit usually knows his stuff, so I take his word for this. Yeah, there is a lot of cool V-Ray stuff at first glance. Yeah, definitely. If it's good, follow him, drop him likes. Remember to always support those people who create stuff, because if we stop supporting them, they'll probably stop creating that stuff, right? Okay, now let's take a look at something else. We talked already about Abdi, and he made a very mixed tutorial. The topic is how to scatter animated plants, but the tutorial itself is more than this, because it concentrates on 3ds Max, Tyflow, and Forest Pack at the same time. So there is a lot of knowledge to this one. So in the first part, Abdi just takes 2 assets from the Cosmos library and shows you how to animate them with the help of Tyflow. Now, you may think, well, okay, we just learned that Vantage has a wind simulation, so why do I need it? Well, first of all, not everybody is using Vantage. Secondly, some people that are using Vantage still prefer to render their final, let's say, animation in Corona or V-Ray respectively. So yeah, knowing how to do this, how to get absolutely any plant from everywhere and be able to make it animate exactly to your liking is worth a lot. Then I think it was around the 20-minute mark. He also shows a great tool that comes with Tyflow. It's the TyConform modifier that I absolutely love. Just take a look at what this tool is doing. Not this, obviously, but you see the topography here. It's a difficult one, and if you want to move this around, you have to adapt it every time. But with TyConform, just look what happens. It just follows the topography. It's absolutely awesome, and you really gotta try it out. And then in the last part, Abdi is showing how to do proper scattering of animated stuff with Forest Pack. I emphasize the animated stuff because scattering static objects and animated objects is not really the same. And yeah, all in all, typical for Abdi, everything is understandably explained, so it's a total recommendation from my side. And as usual, big thanks to Abdi for making these and for sharing them in the group. Please keep them coming. Oh, and by the way, he recommended something else as well, a tool. You know, tools belong also in this category of learning. It's called the Book Editor, and it's for 3ds Max. And as the name already suggests, it's for bulk editing of objects, properties, materials, modifiers, and whatnot. So you can see more in the video that was shared by Abdi. Seems rather useful to me, especially if you constantly have large scenes to deal with tons of geometry in them. This can help you have an overview of what's happening. So yeah, that's more or less it. I think I saw that there are some further things shared by Abdi, but yeah, the news section would have turned way too long if I have it included everything. But anyway, just check out the group, check what's happening there. You see with the show here, especially with this news and learning part, I try to summarize everything more important which is happening in the group. Gladly, by the way, let me know, do you like this? Do you need this? You know, in the beginning of the show, last September, I would just go through all the posts one by one and comment on them. Now I try to do it in a more compressed, in a more, bulky form by talking about news first and then about learning second. But yeah, obviously I cannot talk about everything. Here we see other stuff that Abdi has shared, you know, his sim lab where he's experimenting with stuff. Some of those are actually quite short, but nevertheless they are interesting. I think this one I saw, it's pretty cool. So yeah, just go through the group, see what happens there, see, oh, there is a tutorial by Konstantinos, probably one of his shorts. Just check the group. There is, especially since we started the show, I have the feeling, gladly let me know in the comments what you think about this. But I think that since we started the show, the group has become really way more active, and there is always new stuff to see. You will never be able to just let's say skip a day or two and then come back and there is nothing new to see. I know it because I have to prepare the show and there is always something to see. Some things are short videos like this one or some experiments. Others are projects that are ongoing like this one by Manuel. But there is always something new. There is always something interesting in this group. So yeah, I think we are done with the learning part. I'll just check the comments. Abdi says, you're very welcome. Thanks everyone for your great support. Much appreciated. I appreciate the new, more compressed version of the show. Well, the show itself it isn't really compressed because it's always 2 hours at least. Today I'll try to be to make it a bit shorter so that we have a small pause until the webinar begins. But nevertheless, it's more structured. Let's call it like this. I could have called it compressed the first time. But yeah, I think it's more structured. We have the news, we have the learning part, and then we do the reviewing. And if we have a topic, we will talk about it now. Then we do the reviewing, and by the end, I introduce you to some inspirational stuff I came across, mostly from the group, but also from elsewhere, from the VW Art Club, or I don't know, many sources. Anyway, today we'll skip the topic. I have one that I'm currently preparing for you, but it will take some time. I don't want to make the show too long today. So we'll directly move on to talking about the first work for today, which will be Janitha's work, and it's a very exciting one. Let's see what Janitha has to say about it. Old memories. Hello, this is another personal project of mine. The main goal of this project is to practice the imperfections of the materials. I have done some physical poly damage to the walls and floor. I think that adding depot shadows, it creates more depth and the imperfections. Software used is 3ds Max and Corona. The post-production and color grading in Photoshop, and the 3D assets and textures are done in Quixel, are from Quixel. So, oh, Arthur joined us. Hello, man. You just missed me talking about the outcome of the D2 challenge. It's really impressive. Some really, truly mesmerizing images there. Very motivating to me. Really, you can just recharge your creative batteries just by looking at those images. It was awesome. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to participate, but I'll do my best to do so next time. It's really, really cool. Also, I hope to see you around soon. Are you going to be in Sofia? Arthur says, cool, it was insane. Yeah, definitely it was. The images that you shared, I can confirm this. By the way, folks, sorry, I'm probably turning more and more red because here we have 30 degrees. And unfortunately, I cannot even open my window because we have a huge construction site right by the end of our garden. And once I open the window, it feels like the construction workers are in front of it. So yeah, I'm simmering here in 30 degrees without being able to open the window. My mouth is drying and I'm turning red. By the end of the show, I'll probably look like a lobster and won't be able to speak anymore. So please bear with me. It's just the conditions today. But if I open the window, I won't be able to concentrate at all, and you'll probably be hearing the construction site the whole time. Arda says, I saw you not participating, I will find you. Yeah, you know where to find me. It's Dillenburg, or maybe in Sofia. Anyway, let's move on with Janitha's work. So presentation-wise, it's a really good description. It's informative. It's great that you explained your workflow, that you did some actual physical poly damage on the walls and floor, that you used stuff from Quixel and so on, but also your goals. You wanted to create good materials. You wanted to create realistic imperfections. It's great. And honestly, with a description like this, a project feels complete. Also, it's a good training. Now, think about the competition that you, let's say a visualization competition that you want to participate in. Not only the one that we just talked about by the creative lighting, but also other competitions. For most competitions, you actually need to deliver a text. You need to describe your work. So just practice this by providing every work that you share online with a proper description. Also, it shows a great attitude on your side, I think. One correction here for you: please don't share in the group, don't just share a link to something that you posted elsewhere. So in this case, you posted this in the VW Art Club, which is great. I also tend to do this in both post in the Chaos Campus group and the VW Art Club as well. But instead of just posting on the one place and then sharing a link at the other place, just copy your text, then upload the images at the new place, paste the text, and yeah, make a new post there, because it just shows a bit more respect to the group. And as for the image presentation here, it really makes me want to see the images enlarged. It looks fascinating, intriguing, and this is exactly what we will be doing now. So, what is this here? Okay, this is just an old version. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about the general impression. And to me, going through those three images, I find them to be very atmospheric, naturalistic looking, some kind of a street photography feel to them. They're kind of cinematic as well too, and have even some sweet storytelling. So this is pretty sweet already. Now let's talk about the good stuff first. The modeling looks fine. It's rather simple, but it's cool that you decided to create some actual geometry imperfections instead of only going the material route with displacement. I like the big dent on the column. I like that some of the elements on the backrest of this bench are missing as well. It just adds authenticity. It adds realism. Also, the amount of detail is pretty sweet. I like that you have some messy cables up here, old cardboard on the floor, the ladder. You really made a good use of the Megascans library here, and this randomness definitely adds realism. And when we talk about the design while we're at this shot, I truly enjoy it because it's down to earth. It has character for sure, but at the same time, it's kind of pleasantly unspecific in terms of location, because this could be anywhere. It could be in an Oriental country, in an African one, in Eastern Europe, in South America, and it's also kind of unspecific in terms of time. When is it exactly? Is it an actual historic setting, or is it maybe an old town photographed today? This is just pleasant, but despite this, it still feels relatable to the viewer, and I very much enjoy this. Now let's talk materials. It's a major quality of this work for me. First of all, the chosen materials go together really well, not together only, but also with the situation that you have depicted. They look realistic. I see no repetitions. It's beautiful displacement. It's really good. The lighting complements the materials and those modeling imperfections that you created. The depot shade adds a tone of mood and atmosphere to the scene, and also provides warmth, and it's visually exciting. We have this natural gobo here. It's always a pleasure to see something like this, and it's also very realistic. Also, when it comes to lighting, you have this strong directionality of the illumination, which adds dynamic to an otherwise static image. And in terms of composition, the lighting is properly guiding the viewer's eye to important elements, such as the newspaper on the very first shot. And while we're at the very first shot, let's talk about the framing. So framing is really good on all three shots. On the first one, it's of course very cinematic with this ultra widescreen aspect ratio. Also, the newspaper on the bench adds this sweet storytelling to the scene, making it interesting to look at. Then we have the second shot, which could be called the main shot because we see the whole scene on it. It's beautifully composed. I really love the depth of field here and the wonderful tonal contrast. Just take a look at the silhouette of the ladder here in front of the bright column. It's very good. And then we have the third shot, which is very naturalistic. This is this street photography shot. It resembles a smartphone pic. And it's very authentic. The person is beautifully integrated, and it makes for this timeless character of the work. And it's also kind of storytelling wise, it's also great, because what I see here, this is like a modern day person, obviously. So it's probably a tourist in some kind of old city center somewhere, and this is cool. Now, regarding the bad negative stuff, there isn't really much of it. This electric box that you've placed on the wall doesn't really make a lot of sense, because this is actually a ground unit. You should place it down here. Or alternatively, you should just check the bridge library and use something like this. These are wall electrical boxes, for example, or maybe something like that. This will fit your needs better in this case. And now, if you want to achieve a more realistic look in the post-production, you can of course brighten up your darks, go for a generally colder color temperature, add blue to the color grading, and reduce the orange and yellow saturation. Then you end up with something like this, which in comparison looks kind of odd and cold and kind of, I don't know, not so interesting. I personally prefer your version a mile more. So yeah, just leave it as it is. There is nothing wrong with some bold tone mapping which tells a story or has a certain feel to it, even if it's not the most realistic version of an image. And with this, we're at the end of the review of this work. It's a great exercise, and I really hope that you manage to use the approach that you used here on the next commercial work of yours. It would be really, really awesome, and I would gladly want to see it. I see Mahmoud joined us, and Chihan as well. Hello, folks. Glad to have you here. We'll now take a look at the next work, which is one submitted by Alireza. It's a beautiful commercial work. Let's see what he has to say about it. It's a charned house located in Phoenix, United States, by the Ranch Mine architects. The modeling and rendering here is done by Alireza in 3ds Max Corona with the help of Quixel Megascans. Now, if you use Quixel Megascans on a commercial work, make sure that you're allowed to, because not that you come into some legal issues. There are some further informations about who's the structural engineer, interior designer, landscape engineer, the area, and so on. Generally, a nice description with a lot of information. I also like that you credit all the other people working on this project. This is pretty cool of yours. We also know that this is a commercial work. We know the software combination that you used. What would also be great to know is maybe what the clients wanted, because usually at the beginning of every project, clients reach out to you and have already some ideas about what they want depicted, what they want to see, stuff like this. Also maybe the challenges and struggles. Almost every project I have worked on has had some difficulty spike at some point. And gladly talk about this one, for example. And one general tip: don't upload from mobile. This is what Alireza had done here in the beginning. He uploaded from a mobile device, which resulted in the images being really small and losing a ton of detail because of the heavy compression. When you upload, make sure to always upload from PC, please. Now let's take a closer look and see what kind of general impression this work leaves in us. Your folks are always welcome to share your thoughts in the comments as well. My personal general impression by going through all of those images is that it looks like an Art Daily project, and I don't think I need to say more about its quality because it's really convincing. It's very skillfully done, and it's a pleasure to look at. So today Facebook is a bit slow. I think that the issue is that I have so many Facebook tabs open simultaneously, but I don't know how to avoid it. It's just the way we do this show. We need all of those tabs. So yeah, I'll just try to go back to the very first shot very, very slowly in hopes that it will work better when we further try to go through the images, because Alireza is a very skilled and seasoned artist, so I don't think it makes a lot of sense to talk about modeling materials and so on. Instead, let's just go through the shots one by one and analyze them. So first we have this exterior, the front facade of the building. It's a great introductional shot. It's informative, it's nice and clear. The framing of it is really good. I like how balanced it is, even though 2/3 of this image are made out of sky. I think it makes a lot of sense because the amount of sky up here evens out all the stuff which is happening down here, because here we have a lot of stuff happening. We have all the glazings and the interior furniture and the pool and the plants and the patio furniture and all of this, and this is just a lot, and it's great to have this sky up here to even this out. Of course, if we try to analyze them, if we would go with a framing like this would also work for sure. But a framing like this would mostly concentrate on the architecture itself and this lengthy form of the building. But if you don't only want to show the architecture, but also want to show the feeling of a person living there, then it makes a lot of sense to actually extend the cropping upwards until you have so much sky, because seeing the image like this makes you appreciate how much free space you have there. So you're in your garden, you're facing your house, and you have the whole sky and you have the whole nature and freedom there. And this is just a better feeling than this framing which only concentrates on the building itself. Also, I very much enjoy the tonal contrast between those bright trees in the garden and the dark interior. It's contrasts like this which make images lively and exciting to look at. What I don't enjoy this much here, or I think you can improve, is the grass density. It looks very high. If you take a look at the lawn edges here, it seems like they've been cut with a knife, which is very unnatural. So what you can do is, one solution would be to just lower the density of this grass, or the second one, if you want to keep this golf court look, is to just shorten the grass, make it shorter so that you just have a very, very small edge here, but not this carpet-like stuff, because this doesn't look authentic. And the second thing are the empty interiors. If we take a look here, of course, here there is a lot of stuff happening. It looks very authentic. Then we have the bedroom, it also looks realistic. And then we have this room at the upper floor and this empty room here to the right. They appear very lifeless, and if I were you, I would just put a few sets, just a few. You don't have to put a lot. You see to the left, you only have a bed, more or less. So yeah, what I recommend, just take some Cosmos sets, like some wall art, a plant, a lamp, hang them in there, and that should be actually more than enough. Now, I think this is actually enough about the first shot. Let's move on to the second one. Now, this is this central perspective of the kitchen and dining room area, and it's a beautiful, very, very architectural shot with a really fine composition to it. There is a lot going on here, but somehow you don't get a cramped feeling about it. And the reason here is, first of all, we have a very clear focus. Our focus lies on the kitchen, and what's in the foreground, this is the dining table. It's been blurred out, really showing us that what we have to focus on is the kitchen and not the whole scene. So it isolates part of the objects here, but at the same time, we still see that this is a dining table, and that's why we know that we have this space relationship established, that the kitchen and the dining table are being next to each other. Also, I think you've used some anisotropy here on the blurriness of your depth of field, and I think it's really cool because it adds a tad of dynamic to your shot. Material-wise, it also looks great because your materials have really distinct features to them, clear material properties. Let's take an example of two gray materials being next to each other. So on the one side, we have this granite countertop, which looks like massive, heavy stone. And next to it, in more or less the same color, we have the leather backrests of the backs of those bar stools. And you can clearly tell that this material here is something that is soft, that you can push in. So yeah, this is very, very important. When you want a realistic final outcome, you have to have realistic materials with corresponding features to them. And also the general color scheme is pleasant to me. It's very desaturated, but this doesn't make it boring, but rather harmonious, actually. The lighting here is soft, but it's not unexciting because it still creates some beautiful tonal contrast. Just take a look at this dark underside of the kitchen island under the counter, and then the bright, I don't know what this is, sideboard next to it, or the bright side of the bar stool. It's contrasts like this make visual excitement. Now, what can be improved on this one is the grouts on the parquet. They are just too large. If you have something like this in real life, it will be a hell cleaning them, because they will always be dirty and you'll always be there just cleaning them with a toothbrush. And that's just not very realistic in terms of real life functionality. So just make them smaller. And then there is the diamond lamp here, which in my opinion doesn't really feel the general style of this kitchen, but this is a subjective one for sure. Next, we have this chill corner, which is obviously a gorgeous situation because, yeah, we have the Eames lounge chair, we have a fireplace, we have a book corner. So these are definitely ingredients for a good time. And only thing missing here is a small side table to put your drink on to achieve full happiness, if you ask me. The materials and the modeling are great. I really enjoy how you've depicted the exterior, and I think it's the right thing to do, because you have this huge glazing, and we need a reason for this. You don't only have glazing to let light in, you also want to see something on the outside. And a lot of artists tend to just have some something on the outside, either some HDRI or eventually just white, vast nothingness, void, and that's not good. We want to see something which just provides further quality to this architectural concept. So this is the right thing. This is really cool. And I also really enjoy the care that you have put into the materials. I especially enjoy the bricks in the fireplace, but also the bright edges here on the rack. It may seem like a small detail, but it actually makes a difference. I assume this is curvature map. Since it's been introduced, I use it a lot. If you're also a fan, gladly let me know in the comments as well. And by the way, folks, which maps do you use the most? For me, it's almost always the UV double randomizer, the distance map, and the curvature map as a Corona user. Now let's talk about the lighting. The lighting definitely does the job here. It's consistent also with the previous shot. It could be, of course, more emotional. I think it's, just imagine you had some natural gobo, some depot shade coming from the outside, something similar to what Janitha had in his image. You had it here on a shot like this. It would just be absolutely amazing. Everybody would just want to sit there and never get up again. And the framing's definitely fine for, I personally don't enjoy when a bold object like this is in the middle of the framing. Usually I would go for one of the two rule of thirds lines. In this case, it would be the right one. And I tried it out to see how it will look like. And this is what I ended up with. And we see the whole fireplace. It's not cut off anymore. The composition is nice, but there is also a lot of just empty, boring wall area, and we don't see a lot of the awesome exterior anymore. So I think your version is actually better. But sometimes you gotta try something to figure out if it's better or not. And I'm actually quite happy that with the help of generative fill, I was quickly able to create something like this to just test out my theory. And again, if you have a theory, it doesn't necessarily mean that every time you're right. Sometimes you're wrong, but it's also great if you can actually test out if you're right and wrong, so that you can see for yourself. Okay. And that's it. That's it about this one. I think we can move on to the peeping Tom shot, which has a great depth to it. I really enjoy this one, mostly because of the volumetrics, the distance height that you have established. This gives the whole scene this awesome feeling of perspective, of vastness. We know that the nature is going far, far away, and you have all of those greenery around, and this is pretty awesome. Also, the depth of field for the foreground looks great. It isolates the foreground. It makes it be there, but more like a frame rather than an actual element we need to concentrate on, because otherwise it would have taken too much of our attention, which we don't want, especially given that this foreground is also very strongly illuminated, contrary to this area in focus that we are actually supposed to concentrate on. Now, and this, when it comes to the general atmosphere of this shot and the storytelling, I personally very much enjoy, just speaking purely architecturally, I absolutely enjoy this open interior space that is visually extendable through opening the full glazing here, because, the feeling that you get out of it is that you are among nature. You look to the left, you see nature, you look to the right, you see nature, but you're still sheltered. And this is obviously one of the major qualities of an architectural concept like this, and with this shot you very nicely depicted exactly this. And as for the peeping Tom part, obviously we are staring at the back of a seemingly attractive woman through some bushes. There is a certain level of voyeurism to this, but let this just be a joke. Next we have this fisheye exterior shot. We are back at the garden by the front facade, and obviously this is a very unique camera. It also shows a lot. It's not only unique in terms of looks, but it also shows a lot of the surroundings as well. And it's I'm a big fan of fisheye lenses. I don't know why, but I really like them, really enjoy the final looks like this. Also, there is something, I personally think that there is something more realistic to them than if you tried to simulate this or achieve a similar effect with a standard perspective camera with a very low focal length. The distortion is just different. If we, let's say this same camera here, you have just made it in a perspective mode, and then you have chosen something like 10 or 12 for the focal length value. Then the pool would look like it's some huge Olympic pool, and the house will look tiny, like some kind of garage in the back. With the lens, with the fisheye lens, we obviously have different type, this radial distortion, but the proportions are still kept as they are in real life. So the difference between the pool and the house makes sense also to the viewer's eye and mind. Still though, a shot like this is a sudden change of visual pace, because our previous shots were very, very architectural. They had that classic look to them. They were also quite static in terms of looks, and suddenly we have this very dynamically distorted image. Obviously this is a subjective matter, but to me this adds like a very different mood. So far we've always been classy, right? Just take a look at this one, and suddenly we become funky. And I have nothing against funky, but it kind of reminds me of those skate videos from the 90s or 2000s when it was very trendy to take skating videos with fisheye lens cam. And I think this is the first time that I was introduced to this type of lenses, and I personally really enjoyed it, but I was also into skating at that time. Maybe this is the reason. But yeah, it's I don't know. The other association, I must admit, first time I opened this shot, the association I got was it looks like the very first title shot of MTV Cribs or something like this. And for whatever reason, I actually took the time to make a collage like this to showcase this. And you see, suddenly, this is the feeling that I get. And suddenly this feeling doesn't really correspond to the feelings that the previous shots have been provoking in the viewer. And generally speaking, a fisheye is a difficult topic with clients. Most clients I know usually have an issue with it. It's only the most experimental ones that find it cool, but mostly because again, I'm a fan, I often just render a fisheye shot and then show it to a client and say, do you want something like this? And they're like, yeah, it's funky, but no, my clients won't be able to understand it. So yeah, I think there is still a solution though, and a so-called midway. So what I will recommend to you when it comes to using fisheye lens is the following. So when you have this projection and VR tab with your Corona camera and you choose fisheye here on the tab, and then these options here become available, and in the field of view I would suggest not going further than 120 degrees. Better if you could stay at around 105, 110 degrees. This would be the better thing. Also, when it comes to the projection, I usually use the stereographic one, because just take a look at this one. It says objects retain their general shape even near the edge of the image, meaning that you have less distortion. And as for the cropping, you already did this. Then you choose full frame, and then your camera will be set, and I think you will end up with something which is more bearable for a wider audience and for the more casual clients as well. Let me give you an example of mine here. So take a look at this project first. This one, you see, this is a fisheye lens shot. You can clearly see the distortion towards the edges. But given that the FOV isn't as strong as it is on your shot, let's compare. It feels rather natural, and I think that the small distortion that we have around the edges is still something that people can bear with and put up with, because all in all it feels kind of normal. And also with the help of the fisheye lens, of course, you have a brighter field of view, which is actually pretty natural to human beings, because we don't view the world like cameras do. We don't view this certain aspect ratio. We actually see way more. And with a fish lens camera with a low FOV value, you can actually simulate that quite well. So yeah, here I'll show you another example. Here, this one, the very first image. Again, it's a fisheye shot, but because I didn't go overboard with the FOV value, it still kind of feels natural and it's bearable for most viewers. So yeah, and talking about the different lighting versions of this shot, we have to skip these three. So there is the evening version here. I absolutely love the sky and this awesome warm cold contrast between the interior illumination and the cold blue tint of the exterior. But here there is a certain flatness when it comes to the dark and mid tones. There is a certain lack of contrast. Just take a look at those. Everything looks a bit flat. If we compare to the next one, which is like, let's go with the late afternoon version, you will see how much better, how much crisper all those contrasts look between the grass and the patio furniture and the edge of the pool here. So yeah, this one is probably the more realistic one. Here, maybe the sky is a bit boring, but yeah, that's not a huge deal, to be really honest with you. And now let's go to the final type of image. It's very similar to the very first shot, just an angled version of it. And definitely this one is more in line with the previous architectural shots rather than this one, because we have this classic camera lens, obviously, but for some reason this one has a kind of a cramped look to it, especially let's compare to the fisheye shot. We see so much and we have so much space around and so much air to breathe, and suddenly here the building barely fits into the cropping. The pool is even being cut off, and this isn't even really needed because you actually have the substance to extend your cropping. You just didn't. So the solution here, my recommendation would be to extend the cropping to the left. And if you ask, yeah, why to the left? Let me explain. You have those windows and they have a certain directionality to them. They are viewing in a certain direction, and this direction is this one. So if you have something like this, try to imagine like a person holding their hand like this and looking in a certain direction, like you see here or here, for example. If you have something like this, then you put the person next to the edge of your image, and the direction they are viewing towards, you leave more space at. And you see it here on all the examples down here with a woman. You see her back is close to the edge and there is a ton of space in front of her. Here the same. So yeah, this is what I think you should be doing. So you should be extending to the left. And if you tried to do it, you will end up with something like this. And suddenly you can clearly see it's more spacious. The cramped feeling is gone and it just looks better. And as for the lighting versions, because you do also have those two lighting versions, the late afternoon one is very realistic, beautiful contrasts and everything. The tonality is also awesome, but yeah, the sky here is a bit boring. It's not a big deal though. And here we have the lovely sky, the great warm cold contrast, but also a certain flatness down here. And yeah, with this, I think we are back at the very first image, and it's time to conclude the review of your work. I'd say this was feedback on a pretty high level. I wouldn't even call it criticism, more like suggestions to make your work even more awesome as it already is. But all in all, it's great commercial work, and I would be proud if this was mine. Now let's continue with the next shot. By the way, folks, are you still there? Are you still listening? We are at the third out of 4 projects that we want to review today. It's Roberta's project. It's the first time we talk about a work of hers. So let's see what she has to say about it. Hello, everyone. This is my last work. What do you think? See more at her Instagram. It's done in 3ds Max, Corona, and Photoshop. So it's a nice description. A short one for sure, but informative. Still, Roberta, given that you're new to the show, gladly tell us more. If this is a commercial work or a personal exercise, if it's an exercise, is it a reproduction or just something you came up with? If it's a commercial work, where is it located? What were the goals of the client? It just helps better understand everything. And as for the image presentation, it's definitely visually consistent, but also kind of repetitive because we see more or less the same on both shots. Now, we'll take a deeper dive here, but let me just take a look at Alireza's feedback. He says, thank you, Theo. You're very welcome. What do you think about the feedback? Please let me know. What do you think about the fisheye rant and about the lightings and everything? Just let me know what you think. You don't have to agree with everything I say, but I'm always curious to know what artists, especially somebody who's a skilled artist like you, thinks about this feedback. Is it useful to you, or is it like who cares? Just let me know, please. Now, the general impression here with Roberta's work is, for me at least, a skillfully pulled off project which managed to make the depicted object be desirable to me as a viewer. And this is, of course, the main goal of Alwis, isn't it? Now, modeling-wise, we'll begin with modeling and scattering. Modeling-wise, I like the amount of architectural detail visible on this work. First, you have used realistic frames on your windows. I really like that. I do this as well. If it's not a bird view, or let's say some kind of a skyscraper, I would always use realistic frames just because the whole building ends up looking more realistic. But I know that with a viewing distance like this, a lot of artists would just go with an extruded spline with a square profile, and that would be it. Still, my recommendation, do it like Roberta here and use real frames. It just looks more realistic. But then let's take a look at something even smaller, the protective plate up here on the roof. It looks like an absolutely small detail, but it actually makes a big difference. First of all, it properly finishes the roof, and secondly, it is something that the viewer's eye is used to seeing. If you go through the city and see a flat roof building, it will most surely have a protective plate up there. So when you see something that you're used to seeing in real life in a visualization, it just makes your work more believable. Simple as that. When it comes to the street space, it also looks pretty great. We have those realistic curbs, the lowering here by the driveway ramp. That's quite cool. Also, when it comes to the scattering, the greenery looks awesome. It looks natural. It's lush. It's lively. And also those scattered leaves on the street, they add a lot of realism too and authenticity to a scene. I know a lot of artists fear scattered leaves because they think that once they scatter a few leaves on their street, it will immediately turn into a post-apocalyptic wasteland. But this is not the case. Here, take a look at this image. It looks absolutely clean, absolutely tidy. And these are just small details for more realism. That's it. The materials look pretty nice. Out of all materials, I'm a big fan of those corroded metal plates because they give the whole facade a very lively appearance and also make for a nice color contrast to the surrounding greenery. You can very much see those complementary colors next to each other here. It's very beautiful to look at. And generally speaking about the color scheme, it looks pleasant. It's mostly grounded natural. I enjoy it. The lighting here, definitely awesome. It establishes this pleasant summer atmosphere with warm, soft lighting to it. We have beautiful depot shade here, natural goals as Nikos will call them, and this creates a very nice and lively mood. And in terms of composition, the illumination also works very nice because the entrance area, usually one of the most prominent and important areas of a project, is beautifully staged, and the lighting visually guides the viewer's eyes up here where it actually needs to be. The framing on both shots is fine. the compositions feel balanced, the cropping works, the shots are informative. However, there isn't really a big difference between them. The only difference that I managed to see was this wall here. You cannot really properly see it on the first shot because of the perspective, but that's it, and that's not enough. That's not enough for you to have both next to each other. Just imagine turning this into a portfolio project and only having those two shots and then I as a viewer just visit your page and see this one, and I think, oh, I like to see more out of this project, and then I click further and then I see more or less the same, just from a slightly different angle. Then I will quickly lose interest, and you don't want this to happen. So what I would recommend here is, of course, try showing a different angle, like totally different one, the backside or an interior. And if you don't have it, because sometimes the client only tasks us with, let's say, creating the front facade and everything behind it just simply isn't constructed, it makes sense, then maybe choose a closer angle, then maybe emphasize some of the qualities of the project. Let's say you can, this part here, it's true that we see it on the major first shot, but you can still place a closer camera and make a veranda scene out of it. You can maybe sit a person there and then enhance them with AI and just create a beautiful scene around this entrance situation, for example. Something like this. But if you have two images that are as similar as this one, as these two, I would recommend just sticking with one of those. Amit says, the only thing I want to add that the material on the right wall can be more varied or have a more variation, because right now it seems that a straight stone material is rotated 30-35 degrees. I might be wrong. You can comment on this. This would have been exactly the next thing I would have started talking about. Thanks for mentioning it, Amit. The stone wall, yeah, we have visible repetitions here, and also a very strangely aligned mapping. I would also say, as an architect, I've never seen something like this. Maybe this is a Brazilian thing. I don't know if this project is situated in Brazil at all. I just saw that you are in Rio, so I assume this. So yeah, what you can do here is fix the mapping first, make it parallel to the ground level or at least to the ramp, and then use UVW randomizer on the wall if it works to avoid texture repetitions. Or alternatively, do what Alessio suggested and use Voronoi modifier on this. For those of you who don't know what this is about, with a Voronoi modifier, it's by Rayfire, it's a tool by Rayfire. You can fragment a wall like this and turn it into actual fragmented geometry. And I will skip in this video a bit further. So you see how it turns into separate stones, which is what actually a stone wall like this is made of. And then you can, of course, smoothen them out, and by the end you end up with something like this, which is, of course, there are no repetitions here, and there is no directionality as well. It looks very, very realistic. And then you can texture this using UVW randomizer, and you will end up with something which looks absolutely awesome and convincing. And the other thing that I would recommend is working a bit more on this vehicle here, because currently it's almost artificially shiny and clean, and doesn't really correspond that nicely to the matte, imperfect surroundings, because you have the curbs, the corroded meadow, the scattered leaves, and then you have this perfectly shiny car like it's some kind of a car expo. Not saying you definitely need to make it like off-road dirty just because it's a Jeep, but what you can do is at least brighten the tires a bit. Usually if you drive a car, the tires become kind of grayish, and they're kind of matte as well. Make the car paint less shiny too, and also add a license plate, and then it will look way more realistic. But that's it though. I don't have anything else to say. It's really nice work, Roberta. And again, maybe consider shooting a few more different angles, either from the backside, or if you have substance there. If not, just maybe emphasize on some of the qualities of this project with some zooms. And you'll create yourself a great portfolio project this way. And I'm looking forward to your next one. And with this, we've reached the last project that we will be talking about today. It's Abraham's a project which is very community oriented in its description and also in its whole presentation. Let's see what Abraham has to say about it. V-Ray for SketchUp, a finished render of an Asian duplex row house. I created a daytime render of this house model using V-Ray Light Gen feature, a tool that is incredibly easy to use, providing users with a multitude of beautiful lighting options to choose from without the need for manual work. Users can select their desired lighting scenario from presented thumbnails and continue rendering interactively. Populating the scene, I used V-Ray Chaos Cosmos browser, where you can get truly high quality components. Also, I added some Laubwerk for some plants. Still, Laubwerk is very satisfying to use. Heads off to the Laubwerk plants kit. So it's an Asian duplex row house rendered and visualized by Abby and Abby. I don't know. Model design is by Carlo Edilo and the images are fairly large. So as you may imagine, the description here is awesome. It's not only informative, explaining the workflow, which already is a lot, because up until this point, I must admit, I had never heard of V-Ray Light Gen. I don't know why. I think it's only available for SketchUp and Escape, but maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it's in every version of V-Ray, but again, I'm not a V-Ray user. But now I know about this very, very useful tool, generating various scenarios of natural lighting for you to choose from with a simple click. I think this is absolutely awesome. But also, you mentioned your asset sources that you have used. No, it was not only the Cosmos library, but also Laubwerk. And this is another address that if everybody would do it like you, people will just learn a lot from this. And Laubwerk are Germans from Berlin, if I'm not mistaken, and they do some really cool assets. I have some of their assets and kits and I use them gladly. So yeah, good address, by the way. And generally, everybody profits from something like this. It just gives so much information, and if I want to know how you did something and I go to this description, I will know how you did it. And maybe you even describe something in a wrong way. Maybe you do something in a very tedious way, and while I go to this description, I can think, oh man, he's doing it in such a tedious way. I know a better way to do it, and I will tell this to you. So you yourself profit from your own description. And as for the image presentation, again, it is very community oriented once again, because we don't only see the final results, but we also see a comparison between the 3D model and the final render, which I think is pretty cool. Now let's take a closer look. Oh, this is strange. I don't know what this means, that it's not available anymore. It should have been available. Okay. Was the content deleted, or what's the issue here? Let me check the group. This is really strange what's happening currently. I just went through this project like an hour ago and it was still there. I hope Abraham didn't delete it in the meantime. This would have been very, very unfortunate, because if the project isn't there, obviously I won't be able to talk about it and review it. Stuff like this happens in a live show. If it's only recording, I can of course cut it off, but it's not. So we have to deal with this. I don't know what's currently happening. If it's again Facebook just acting up, I only see a black page. But I see in the small preview that you guys are seeing that there is something else. I don't know. I think that it's really an issue for Facebook, that I have so many Facebook tabs open. I don't know where the issue here is. I hope we manage to resolve it as soon as possible, because if this keeps happening, I cannot really continue the show as planned. But yeah, it says here in German that the contents are not available anymore, which is again really, really, really strange. Let me clear the cache and take a look at this. So yeah, I'll just scroll down Something like this is usually shown when the content has been removed, which I personally see no reason for, but yeah, this is just the way it is. At some point at the beginning, before we started this show, somebody said that I should do it on Discord or somebody somewhere else, because Facebook has the tendency of acting up. Amit says, I'm also not able to open it. Same message for me too. So yeah, it's either Facebook acting up. Are you able to open other projects, Amit? Can you open a different project, or is it the only one which causes this issue? Because if this is the case, we'll just have to skip it. As sad as it is, I can still give some written feedback to Abraham here. So okay, let me see. Let me skip this one. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't. You say nope. What? It doesn't work, or is it? Is it the only one that's not openable, or are the other projects problematic as well? I'll use this as a small pause to wet my throat in this dry room. The construction workers started at 7 a.m. this morning, so I hope they will at least won't be doing it until 7 p.m. and at some point I'll be able to open my window here. This would be a really pleasant thing to do. Amit says everything is acting weird. Well, okay, if this is the case, let's see. Let's just move on to the inspirations and see if I'll be able to show you some of those or not. And if so, then then I'm very, very sorry. Let's see if I can open this one. Okay, so yeah, usually I'll just do my bit and see how much of it works. So yeah, usually we talk a lot about Alwis in our group. But there are also animations that have been shared in this group, and today, for a change, I wanted to take a closer look at said animations instead of Alwis and still images. So let's see how many of those actually work. Probably none, because as Amit is saying, oh, Facebook is acting up, but hey, we managed to start the first one. It's the Skoda Fabia RS Rally 2 video by group member Matt. Matt is a very skilled artist and also a semi-bodybuilder on the side, by the way. And why is this inspiring? Obviously because of this dramatic build-up, the great use of lighting, of sound effects that really make this vehicle look very, very cool and desirable. At least this is how I perceive it. Next, we have a different animation, which is a commercial apartment animation by Mohammed Mahmoud. I'll just let it run. It's still, so far, it works, and I hope you guys can see this. It was good that I was prepared beforehand, so now I'm still able to show you these things. Maybe they're in the cache or something, I don't know. But as long as you're able to see that, it's good. Anyway, I won't play this one with sound because the music background here is a rendition of Havana by Camila Cabello, which will lead to some legal issues, but I still want to show it to you. And why is it inspiring? Well, because of the clever use of those scene transitions, the different movement speeds, zooms, the focus and focal length shifts, the effects that have been used throughout this animation. You saw that there are some split screens and things like this. Also, there is an inclusion of real life footage somewhere further down the line. I'm not sure where it was, but it actually looked pretty cool. And all of this together makes something which is otherwise mundane. Here it is, mundane, meaning that this is just another vanilla beige apartment in minimalistic style. And in the meantime, I think we have seen a ton of those. But with this great animation depiction, it actually becomes exciting to look at once again. So that's definitely quality stuff. Check it out if you haven't already. And this may give you some ideas for your own animations. I will stop it and see if we can start the next one, which is another commercial work, this time by Nico. Really enjoyed this one. Let's see what he has to say about it. Hello everyone, I wanted to share my latest animation project. It was a commission for a client, but due to time constraints I only submitted a simple animation with basic camera movements, which is also what they required. Despite this, the client really liked it. However, I'm not satisfied with the result I delivered. That's why I've decided that if I have some free time, I will turn it into a solid portfolio project. Working on this project has helped me become more creative. I hope you like it and would really appreciate any suggestions. It's done in 3ds Max, V-Ray, Vantage, Anima, and After Effects. And honestly, it's awesome. I absolutely enjoy it. It's creative, but it's also informative. Why is it inspiring? First of all, it's just a cool animation on its own. It has a very professional look to it, but also some funky elements like, you know, this Roomba in the end of the animation. It's just cool to see. And also because of Nico's approach, I really love this. He wasn't happy with the delivered outcome, which is something which happens even to the largest, biggest, most popular studios out there. This is a normal thing. You just deliver something that the clients like, but you yourself as an artist don't. And then you decide, you know what, when I have the time on my hands, I'll just go back and rework it a bit and make it nicer. So, Nico did exactly this. He reworked it and now he made it portfolio worthy. He has now an awesome project, and next time a client would ask for an animation, Nico will be just able to show this project, this animation in his portfolio and say, you know what, here it is, here is what I'm capable of. It takes a bit of time, it costs something, but it looks really awesome. So yeah, very smart move, and I really enjoyed this one. Great job, man. Now let's pause it. So far I've been able to show you all the videos that I wanted. Now let's take a look at this one. This is a short video by Jihan. In the beginning of the show we took a look at an experiment by him, and here is another short video rendered in Vantage. And why is it inspiring? Obviously, first of all, it's a beautiful scene, but secondly, it has a very smart approach to it. Why? Because we have a static scene, but it's been overlaid with animated shadows, and because of it, the whole scene suddenly turns lively. And by the way, Jihan made a lighting study based on this scene. Let me see if I will be able to open it. Yeah, this one works for whatever reason. Probably the Facebook issues are gone by now. And it's the great depiction of the importance and the impact of lighting in your scenes. So you see the very first scene, it's a very romantic one. It's like an evening mood. Gotta love Jihan's lanterns. They look so awesome. The light they produce is just looking so authentic and so cool. So yeah, we have this evening mood, this romantic, light-hearted, cool mood, and next we have this overcast mood, which suddenly makes everything look repellent and unwelcoming. And then we just add sun with some shadows to it, and suddenly it's happy, positive again. And then we have this very, again, romantic or dreamy mood of a sunset. So yeah, light has an enormous impact of your scenes. And if you remember, I think it was 2 or 3 shows back, we were talking about the work where the artist said she spent a whole day testing out different HDRIs. She was a Corona user back then. There wasn't a support for Vantage. With Vantage, testing this out won't take a whole day, will save us time. This is pretty awesome. But I absolutely understand this. Finding the right illumination is half the price of success. Yeah. So Amit says it's a great animation reel. Only thing I didn't like much is the shake walking across the room. Yeah, you're talking about Nico's animation. Well, yeah, I think he just wanted to put in a person walking there. I don't know, where was it? Yeah. Well, it looks authentic though. Yeah, I think this was it. And then we have 3 videos there on YouTube, so there shouldn't be an issue. First one being a tutorial video actually by Flatson. It's a tutorial on V-Ray and SketchUp how to create animations like this. First of all, why is it inspiring? Well, it's a good scene, good looking scene. And also you have somebody who knows how to to do it and is eager to show you how to create an animation like this. What more do you need to be inspired? Anyway, thanks to Flatsam for sharing this. It's pretty awesome. The tutorial consists of 2 parts so far. They're in Portuguese, but you can still watch them because you can enable those automatically translated subtitles in your language or in English, whatever you prefer. Fatia says, I feel like the sunset one is the best for the kind of images. The abundance of concrete material gives a cold aura, so the yellow sunset kind of balances it up. You're talking about this one, the sunset one? Yes. I think apart from the overcast one, I like all of those. Obviously, this one here has a bit of a cold to it because it lacks the warmth of the very first version or the very last version or the first one, because here we have this awesome contrast between the warm light from the lanterns and the surrounding coldly hued illumination. But yeah, this one I don't like, but sometimes it's just, it's the most realistic looking one, especially if you want to depict a certain material or a certain color the way it is meant to be, then you should preferably go for an overcast lighting scenario instead of one of those, because here you have too much overlayings of different colors and structures and shades and so on. But with this one, you have the clear, pure color. So yeah, I think all of those have a reason for their existence, but I agree with you. I also very much love the atmosphere of this last shot. Now let's move on to something really special. It's a work by Carolina. It's called Chaos Vantage Caustics. I personally call it Tea Time. It's done in 3ds Max and rendered in Vantage. And why is it inspiring? Well, you'll see in a second. It's absolutely unique. Also very, very realistic. Just take a look at this natural camera movement and the fluid simulation, the collisions, how convincingly the fluid reacts to the spoon being put in it, and also the caustics. The name giver of this video looked great as well, but I must admit I watched this a few times and I was every time amazed by the authenticity of it. There is something special about this video that I really enjoy. And why is it inspiring? Yeah, I just told you. By the way, if you are interested in Carolina's work, there is another video that she shared where it's called the corner scene, where she's experimenting with Vantage. Carolina isn't an Alwis artist, but this one is actually pretty much Alwis one. This one is not the final outcome of the rendering. This is more or less a screen capture of her just exploring a scene with Vantage, looking for good camera positioning and beautiful angles, and you can see she finds a lot of those beautiful details, beautiful depth of field as well. And yeah, I don't know, I think Carolina, if you watch this at some point, you have the talent to be an Alwis artist, but you don't have to be, and you're very much appreciated the way you are. And I personally, similar to Abdi's work, even though I'm not much into animation myself, but seeing your work and Abdi's and also you experimenting with stuff, I find to be extremely motivating and inspiring to me as an artist, because this just gives me the energy to also try new stuff myself. So yeah, you are absolutely a great part of this group. Stay at it and don't doubt yourself. Even though you're not an Alwis artist, you don't have to be. Continue sharing this. You may not be getting a million of likes, but there are for sure people in this group which absolutely appreciate what you're doing, you and Abdi and people like you. And yeah, this is really cool. Keep an eye on Carolina, my final advice. She's quite an interesting artist, and I think she has a great future in front of her. So yeah, I think this is enough for today because, as I told you, I want us to have a small pause before the Chaos webinar begins. I'm not sure why it didn't work out with Abraham's work. It still says it's not there. Well, so be it. What I can tell you is that I hopefully see you again in 14 days. In the meantime, next week I'll travel to my hometown, Sofia, Bulgaria, on invitation by Chaos for a Chaos event called the Chaos Connect Day. It's on July 16th. I think it's going to be an incredibly interesting event. It will be a full day of peeking behind the scenes at Chaos. And as you can imagine, I'm really excited for it. Of course, I'm also excited to see my family and friends in Sofia because I haven't been there for 6 years. And on the next show, I'll make sure to tell you about it, or as much as I'm allowed to, because, a peek behind the curtains also means NDAs and not being able to tell everything that you see there, I assume. But I'll tell you as much as I can. And looking forward to this and to maybe some exciting news about Chaos on the next show. And now let's wrap it up to have a small pause. I see Nico saying, thanks, Theo, you're very welcome. I really liked your animation a lot. Fatia says, thanks, Theo, have a great vacation in Sofia. Yeah, I will. I'm sure it's going to be 36, 38 degrees. So yeah, we're not used to this living in Germany. But anyway, today was a good training being in this enclosed room. Anyway, folks, have a good rest of the week. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks. Same day, same place, but not the same time. Today we started 2 hours earlier, so next time it will be the normal time, 4 p.m. Central European time. Stay safe, be healthy, rock on, and ciao. I'll see the Corona and Vantage users of you in a few minutes on a webinar.